Hello guys, and welcome back to the next episode in this series where I go over how to make an inventory system that's multiplayer supported. So, in this episode we'll be going over some basic interaction logic and how to use our inventory system beyond just testing it with the event graph here. So, first thing that we're going to want to do is go to our tools, use C++ class, and we want to add an interact component. Let's call it our interaction. Let's put that in our inventory plugin into our components. And let's make that public and create. Now, normally I would put this into its whole separate module just for interactable stuff, but for this tutorial series it should be fine. Especially since later on when we talk about interfaces and best practices, we're also going to be refactoring it slightly to account for different systems, and maybe if you've already got your own interaction logic you can do it there, that sort of thing. So let's go to our C++, and as you can see we've got a fresh new component. Let's remove the tick as always and set it to not be able to tick at all. As we mentioned in the pseudocode, we want a few functions here. First public one is going to be a U function, blueprint callable interaction, and it's going to be interact, and it's going to have, well, an interactor that we want to interact with. I don't think I've said interact more times in my life. We also want a protected U function to be able to determine the best actor to interact with, and this is going to return a actor pointer. No, not actor. We want this to be U object pointer to get best interactable. Oops, there we go. Okay, so a U object pointer return value for the get best interactable function name, and it's going to be const because it's not going to change the state of the object. Perfect. We also want a property underneath this that's also protected. That's going to be a T object pointer to a U shape component, which is going to be the interaction collider. Now, if you're not familiar with the shape component, it basically is the base class for the box collider, the collision collider, and the sphere collider. It basically opens up our options to be able to determine which collider we'll be using later on. So we'll also need a U function up here. This needs to be blueprint authority only, and we're going to set void set interaction collider. There we go. And we also need one more U function underneath here to basically say virtual void interact with best. There we go. So let's generate these definitions. If you want to press there, I press Alt Enter to be able to do that. I'm not sure if that'll work with Visual Studio, but it does with Rider. So get best interactable implementation. We're just going to return null pointer for now because we're going to implement this in blueprints first. Interact with best. So this is literally just going to get best interactable, and it's going to pass it into the interact function there. For that we need to change this definition to take in a U object instead, and that's going to do that. As the interaction collider, I'm just going to say interaction collider equals collider. Perfect. Now we could do it so that there's two possible ways that we can do this. We could either do it so that the client requests an interaction and then we travel to the server, and on the server we check what the best object is to interact with and then interact with it, or we could do it so that the client picks the object they want to interact with, and then the server interacts with the object. There are pros and cons to both approaches, and I'm going to go with the client choosing the interactable object. Just for now, I think it might be easiest. But then again, we'll have to replicate the interaction glider because we're setting it on the server only. Because we only want the server to be able to tell. We want to be able to tell the interaction component which glider to use. We don't want to trust the client that it's picked the right one. So, and I don't really want to waste a replicated variable on something that's only going to be set up once. So, in that case, I might use the server RPC. And then we'll have to throttle it to make sure that if the player spams the interaction component's interact function, that it doesn't send dozens of RPCs every couple of seconds as well. We're not going to deal with that in this tutorial series, maybe in the addendum series. And let's make the RPC. So in the protected section, we go U function, server, and we're going to set this to reliable. No validation, because I'm not really 100% sure on how to use with validation yet, and I don't feel comfortable giving a tutorial on how to use it if I myself don't know how to use it. So interact, and we're also going to have one to say function. I will interact with best. Yes. Okay. Let's generate these definitions. And we're going to say interact with interactor, and interact with best is going to basically call this. Now, interact. This is basically, if we do it this way, then it is basically the client choosing interaction. So, how do we do this? How can we structure this? Well, what we can do is we could have another U function here to say virtual void request interaction. Generate the definition for this, and well, we want to be able to choose the item. Okay, I think for now we're only going to deal with we're only going to let them request the interaction through the interaction glider, and then here when we come to interact, that is going to be guaranteed on the server. So when we request the interaction here, then it should be okay, I think. So then we can go here and say, if we don't have authority, then do this, and return this, return. And if we have authority, then we can just interact with the get best interact. Yes. So you kind of have to ask, yeah, kind of have to question your security and how secure you're writing the code with this, because you really don't want to trust the client that they've chosen the right object. Because, well, if you trust the client with the item that they're trying to interact with, you could end up with hackers that are able to interact with objects that are thousands of units away, or with something that's through a wall that they can't usually access, and just stuff like that. Like, it depends on how you code it, but you need to be able to verify that the items that they're interacting with, they can actually interact with at that state, and the only way to do that reliably is to do it on the server. So this, and then we're going to do the interact, which should be a Blueprint native event. There we are. Definition, and get rid of the one here. So let's go through the flow of the code just one more time. So we have one public function that we can call externally, and this public function is going to call interact with the get best interactable. If it does not have authority though, i.e. if we're on a client, then it's going to call server interact with best, which is going to call interact with get best interactable, which is basically what we're doing here. And I'll get rid of this server RPC with this, because we really don't want to trust the client with anything, really. Trust. We could trust but verify with the validation, but as I said, I don't really know how to use that effectively, and until I do, I'm not comfortable giving a tutorial on it. I'll continue experimenting it, of course, but I'm not comfortable doing that just yet. With get best interactable though, what we can do is we can hold a new object pointer best interactable as a null pointer, and then a float to say best distance, int to say best index is equal to -1, float max 0. Yeah, let's go with 0. We do the array of actors, overlapping actors, and then we get the overlapping actors from the interaction collider, and since we haven't actually included the header file, it's going to give us an error, so we just include the definition, and then overlapping actors. Why is this complaining? Yeah. Why is it complaining? Oh, make sure that this is a pointer. Now we just iterate over the overlapping actors. We retrieve the actor as a U object, and if this is valid, then we enter in here and we check we get the distance as the interactable. Get location. What we can do is just set that to there. So distance squared. The reason why we're using distance squared is because it's just that little bit faster, because the square root that's required to get the actual distance rather than the squared distance is a whole other operation and can be quite slow depending on your CPU. And then if the best interactable is a null pointer, or the distance is less than the best distance, so this is basically checking if this is the first index, or if we've not yet reached an index. If we've not set this yet, then set this here, and then best index is equal to I, then return best interactable. Yeah, we can actually get rid of best index, really. There we are. And there we are. That's the best interactable. It's just checking which item's closest. You can do a whole range of things, from checking which one the player's facing more towards, or some other selection algorithm there. That's what I'm going to go with. Yeah. What I can also do is, if it's valid and interactable as tag actor, so let's check overlapping actors I has act has tag, there we go, and we want to check if it has a tag interactable. And this is an easier way to filter stuff out, because otherwise this is going to go through every actor that's interacting with. Can I actually do that here as well? Overlapping actor class filters, no. Okay, now let's rerun this and make a child class of this so we can deal with the interact implementation. Oh, blueprint. Yeah, get rid of the virtual there, and there we go. This is a lot simpler than the inventory component by design. There we go. Now, let's go to our inventory plugin folder, content, components, and let's make a new component. And as you can see here, we don't actually have it here under our active components. Now, why is this? What did I forget to do? I forgot to make this printable. Blueprint type, and so we measure. Let's make this abstract so we don't get confused later on. And compile. Okay, now let's go back to here, and now we should see it. No, not scene component. No. Inventory interaction is. I might take a break after this episode. BP underscore interaction component. Open this up, and let's just override our interact function to just print text. And you have to format text, say interacting with item. Now let's compile, save this, and let's go to our first person controller, and let's add an interaction component, and make sure this component replicates. Compile, save, come to our character, and let's go to our viewport. I'm going to add in let's go with a capsule collision. I'm going to attach that just outside the mesh here, and I'm going to attach it to the first person camera, so that when this thing rotates, it should now rotate with it. Nice. Compile, save, and go to our construction script. No, begin play. We want to change begin play. Begin play. And should we do this on the character or the controller? I think on the controller when we possess. That'll probably be the best place to do it. On possess, I want to set interaction component, set interaction slider. Can components have tags? Yes. Add a component tag called interact slider. Copy it because it is case sensitive. Get component. It should have components by tag. Enter that tag in and make sure it's a shape component. And just get the first index of that list in there. And make sure it is valid first. Can we just start with first? It has to be Latin. Okay. Is valid index, and if this is valid. If we put that into a branch with an AND with the is valid index first, then it should stop this one for the ending. There we are. Okay. I'll save it, and now if we go to our controller and just underneath there, debug key F, and go to our interaction component and just type in interact with best. I'll save, and now it should work. I'll add a breakpoint here just so we can tell it's working. So if we were to go up and try to, there we go. If we were to go up and try to interact with anything here, then it won't work, will it? Because none of these have the interactable tag. So let's add interactable. Is interactable was the tag that we were looking for? Yes. So let's now try go up and interact with them. Why is that not working? Let's edit this and get best interactable, and let's just add a breakpoint here. Let's actually just verify this has it, this has it, this has it. Maybe they're not generating overlap events. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so physics. Generate overlap, there we go, and collision presets. Let's have a look at what object type this capsule is looking for. Overlap all dynamics, so it should be fine for everything, including physics bodies. Maybe it was just the fact that these weren't generating overlap events. And it's blocking all of these. If it still doesn't work, then we'll have to come up with a custom collision preset to basically make it interact with more dynamic. But maybe it should be okay. I'll disable this because we know it's working now. Interact, static mesh component, there we go. Server interacting with session 43, 44, so it is interacting with them now. Perfect. Okay, let me think. What else do we need in this one? Probably the item component. Yes. No, not yet. But yeah, we'll do that after interfaces. Yeah, that's the interaction stuff complete. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. The next one will be going interfaces and making the code a bit more modular, and adding support for a few more things such as items being able to choose their own item usage, being able to decide if they can be added or can be removed, so you can make stuff like quest items or stuff like just can't be added to the inventory if you want that in your game. And yeah, we'll just be going over interfaces, trying to optimize the game a little bit, because right now it is not quite as optimized as it could be. And we'll be going over why we use soft object references rather than hard references. We'll be going over why we use interfaces. We'll be going over how to use size maps, that sort of thing as well. So I'll see you guys there. Thank you guys very much for watching.